Hi everyone, this is George Theodoridis. This is, I think, my sixth time doing this, but I finally gotten really comfortable with it. The first few times I was talking about my background as, a New York City public school student, and then tying that into the questions. But I finally um, done the questions first and talked a little bit about my experiences and how they tie into them right after. So I'll start off with question number one. Um, I'm sorry about uh, the lighting and the quality of the video. I tried doing this on the computer, but it just wasn't happening, so I have to do it on my phone. I'll figure that out and try to and do it from my computer in the future. So I apologize for that. Okay. Um, what is the special education teacher's role in supporting learning, improving planning and practice, upholding professional expectations and ethics, and collaboratively advancing the profession? So, when I first read this, the three words that stood out to me were patience, perseverance, and dedication. Patience because we will be dealing with students that have special needs. Perseverance because you're going to come across a lot of challenges, and you can't let them bring you down to the point where you think about quitting. And dedication, as we all know, teachers have a lot of responsibility and aren't reimbursed as much as they should be. So that was my answer to the first question. Um, for the second question, it was what dispositions that you currently possess will help you become a successful teacher? What dispositions do you need to work on before you enter the classroom as a first year teacher? Um, the good dispositions that I have are that I work hard and I never give up. It took me till I was 26 to graduate from college, and when I did, I actually did with a double major because in my mind I thought I was making up for lost time and getting 2 degrees at once. So um, in terms of working hard, I've held 2 jobs at once. Right after I finished college, I spent a lot of my time sending out resumes online and going to job fairs. I basically took the first job offer that came along, which was as a direct support professional, and that's where you take care of people with severe physical disabilities. It was a minimum wage job, hourly. Overqualified for it, but so eager to work that I just took it. Um, if I held out, I probably could have gotten something better, but that's what I chose to do. And I did that for a few months, and they offered me, excuse me, and they offered me a full-time position with benefits. But while I was there, I was also a peer counselor at a social services agency, and I did that for about 6 months. Um, and then I was promoted to a caseworker. While I was uh, a, a peer counselor, I did some tutoring, and that's where I felt that I was making the biggest difference in the lives of the participants. So that's what first got me thinking about education as a career. Uh, so in terms of my negative dispositions, they would be procrastination and last minute preparation. A lot of this I didn't do on purpose. Some I did, like cramming, all-nighters for college. But in terms of work, I uh, would have to cover groups when I was a caseworker, like last minute. So I had to come up with some material and like quickly in like 15 minutes, and I didn't even read it or go over it. I just kind of went along with things in the group, and the participants also helped, you know, run smoothly. um, I also did this sometimes when I had like a large caseload, a lot of paperwork to do. Um, that was one of the things I didn't like about social work, was that you had to basically do your job and then write about it. I spent I did a lot of overtime, a lot of 10, 12-hour days. So I wanted to get a master's because in social work, you basically need your LCSW to really get somewhere. And I was hoping to attend this dual master's program at Hunter College, for education and social work. I was thinking about teaching and then becoming a guidance counselor, but with the amount of hours that I was working and just being exhausted on the weekends, I saw no way of it happening. So I decided to step back and just concentrate on getting my master's, which I'm doing now. The third question, what effect could personal biases have on expectations that teachers have for their students? How could these biases affect their relationship with students and their families? What I came up with was, don't involve religion, politics, physical appearance, and background into education. This is where my experience comes in terms of being a New York City public school student. When I was in elementary and middle school, I remember that they would, they specifically in middle school, they would, put up your grade point average, the honor roll, and they would also, the way they put you in classes was by ability, by intelligence, I guess. Like there was 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", all the way up to 6'11", and everybody knew it that 6'1" was the top class, and everybody was aiming to be in 6'1", 7'1", and 8'1". I was in that, that sequence of classes. So I felt like you were kind of labeled in that sense. But when I moved on to the magnet school, which I had to test for, they didn't count any grades. It was just all based on that test. You, excuse me. You would go into the school with a lot of people from different backgrounds, some from poor families, some from rich families. So over there was, you couldn't really, there was no like concrete way to separate students by intelligence or ranking. The only difference between us was what homeroom number we had. So So I think that was the best of what I saw as a part of the New York City school system was the magnet school. Uh, well, I remember I spent a lot of time with my guidance counselor wanting to get out of there because it was so demanding. It took a while to get there, and you, it was a complete like change from what I was used to in grade school and middle school, where you lived close to the kids you went to school with. You hung out afterwards over there, going to school in the Bronx from Queens, which is a while away. Everybody was spread out. It was hard to meet up with friends afterwards. You basically just came home exhausted and wanted to play video games and watch TV and leave your homework for later on in the night, and then you would do your work late into the night, wake up early in the morning tired. So I feel that high school was harder for me than college was. Um, and the worst, like I said again, was what I experienced in uh, grade school and middle school, where they would, place you according to what level you were at, and everybody sort of knew it. Also, there was, things that uh, administrators are worried about, like bullying and violence in the zoned uh, elementary and middle schools. That wasn't a part of Bronx Science at all. It was just about academics. I recently applied for a teaching assistant position, and it's taking a while, because it's all through the state. I had to take the test and do 3 workshops. The test I passed, but I have to wait a month for the official results to come out, and the workshops, they take like a week or two to be processed through the state, and then some workshops are like DASA. There was 3 workshops. One was on bullying, one was on child abuse, and the other one was DASA, which stands for Dignity for All Students Act. That one was a little more involved, so it can get quite expensive actually. Teaching assistant position. It's good because you can either the school that I went to was hiring for teacher aides and teacher assistants. Teacher aides was just an hourly job, no benefits, but teacher assistants would get benefits after 3 months. So I decided to do that. Um, and it's a minimum wage job. There probably are better offers out there, but minimum wage has gone up to $15 an hour, and you know, make a few $100s a week, which is not a lot in New York City. New York City is very expensive, but it seems like your first paycheck is going towards all these workshops and tests and fingerprinting that you have to get done. So, um, yeah, we went over the questions, my experiences in New York City, um, public school student as it relates to them. My plans in terms of being a teaching assistant to get some experience in the classroom for before I apply for special education teaching positions. Um, and in terms of college, lastly, I went to a lot of different schools. I worked a lot of different like jobs. I originally, out of Bronx Science, I went to SUNY Albany for a year and a half, then went to Buffalo because they were the only state university with a law school. So I was expecting to go to law school there, but my financially got cut off, and I ended up in Chicago, where I even considered becoming a police officer, first in the with the Phoenix PD and then with the NYPD, but it just wasn't for me, that type of a job. So I eventually came back and finished everything at Queens College, which I think that, you know, when I was going away to college, there was like this whole allure about it, being independent and, you know, making your own rules. But I think if I could do it all over again, I would go to CUNY, you know, because basically it was more you were paying more for to live in Albany and Buffalo than for your tuition, you know. But when I went to CUNY, it was good, you know. I basically took classes, year round, every semester, fall, winter, spring, maximum credits, and they covered me with full grants. So all I had to pay back was my SUNY loans. So that's the story on me. I just wanted to get it all out there because I I felt like my first introduction to the class came out kind of unnatural, like it almost felt robotic in a way, So I was kind of nervous. I've had issues with that, and in the past, like presentations, like in lecture halls, I would get nervous, but I feel that with teaching it will be different, especially I want to do elementary special education, so I think it will be easier to deal with kids of that age. So thank you for taking the time to view my video. I know it was a long one, supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes. I went 3 times over, but I finally got the hang of this, and will hopefully do it from my computer next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.